Hello friends, I'm Pastor Lori Bayan of Windsor Community United Methodist Church, and I'm so glad that you have joined us in this virtual worship space. We are in the middle of a series called Changemaking in the Wilderness. We're doing it collaboratively with the folks at Christ Church United Methodist in Santa Rosa, with whom I have been engaged in a process called Changemaker over this past year. The changemaker you're going to hear from today is the lay member to annual conference for the Christ Church community. Her name is Diane Gunderson, and she is a school teacher by profession, and she's a really thoughtful and impactful person. And I think that's why she was invited to be part of the change-making process. Today you're going to hear her reflect on the scriptures and on her own life as she's come more into this identity as a person of faith who has an impact to make on the community around us. I pray that you'll be blessed by her message today. Please join in this call to worship. But the work of change is a bit of a wilderness. And it's easy to get distracted, to get turned around, and to want to go back. Trusting that God is in the wilderness with us. Transforming us and changing us. As we seek to change our world.
You have come up to the lake shore, looking neither for wise or for wealthy. You only wanted that I should follow. Oh Lord, with your eyes you have searched me, and while smiling have called out my name. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. Now with you I will seek other seas. You know that I own so little. In my boat there's no money nor weapons. You'll only find there my nets and labor. Oh Lord, with your eyes you have searched me, and while smiling have called out my name. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. Now with you I will seek other seas. You need the caring of my hands. Through my tiredness may others find resting. You need a love that just goes on loving. Oh Lord, with your eyes you have searched me, and while smiling have called out my name. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. Now with you I will seek other seas. You who have fished other roses, ever longed for, my souls that are waiting, my dear and good friend, as last you call me. Oh Lord, with your eyes you have searched me, and while smiling have called out my name. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. Now with you I will seek other seas. Oh Lord, with your eyes you have searched me, and while smiling have called out my name. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. Now with you I will seek other seas. Now with you I will seek other seas.
Verses 12 to 23. Moses said to the Lord, "See, you have said to me, 'Bring up this people,' but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, 'I know you by name,' and you have also found favor in my sight. Now if I have found favor in your sight, show me your ways, so that I may know you and find favor in your sight. Consider, too, that this nation is your people." The Lord said, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." And Moses said to them, "If your presence will not go, do not carry us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people, unless you go with us? In this way we shall be distinct, I and your people, from every people on the face of the earth." The Lord said to Moses, "I will do the very thing that you have asked, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." Moses said, "Show me your glory, I pray." And they said, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and will proclaim before you the name, the Lord. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show you mercy on whom I will show mercy." But they said, "You cannot see my face, for no one shall see me and live." And the Lord continued, "See, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock. And while my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen."
Good morning. If you don't know me, my name is Diane Gunderson. I am a member here at Christ Church United Methodist, and I would have the joy of sharing with you a little bit about my Changemaker journey so far. I'd like to start with a prayer, the Changemaker prayer. Loving Creator God, open us, guide us, encourage us, sustain us as we risk something big for something good. Amen. I am chasing God's dream. In the Changemaker Fellowship, this is how we talk about our own journeys and our own work, which is really to chase God's dream. So with that in mind, Moses is definitely a changemaker, right? He has been called and is chasing God's dream to lead his people out of slavery. That is an amazing dream. It's beautiful. It's valuable. Yes, this needs to happen. We will be free. The thing is, there's a point where Moses is called and realizes, yeah, this is the dream. And way over here, there's the point of fulfilling that dream. And that journey in between is tricky. It might feel at times impossible, unclear, murky. Last week, Aaron was doing some stuff with calves and golds. The Israelites are complaining, they're looking to Moses, tell us what's going to happen. I imagine that Moses feels isolated in his leadership. And he's asking God, where are you? Are you with me? Are you with us? And the Lord said to Moses, I will do the very thing you have asked because I am pleased with you and I know you by name. I know you by name. When I first had this passage, I couldn't see how it related to anything, and I got stuck on hiding in rocks and clefts. But when I went down and practiced some of the things that Nancy has shown us about, looking at Scripture, when I really, really read it from the heart, what jumped out at me was, I know you by name. God sees me. God knows me. Being seen gives a feeling of belonging, feeling valued and acknowledged. And this all made me think of a South African philosophy called Ubuntu. Maybe you've heard of it. I learned about it actually as part of my Changemaker journey. And the guiding principle of Ubuntu is that the essence of our humanity comes from one another. Rather than the well-known phrase, I think, therefore I am, Ubuntu declares, I am because we are. I am because we are. A person is a person only through the humanity of others. And names can be an important part of being seen and acknowledged. And there's a huge value in being seen. And I was taught a greeting that sort of comes with this Ubuntu philosophy, and I'm going to ask you to practice it with me. Don't worry, it'll be easy. I'm not going to have you stand up. When I say go, not yet. You're going to turn to someone near you, and you're going to look them in the eye, and you're going to say their name. You're not going to say name, you're going to say their name. If by chance you're not sure what their name is, it's okay to ask. Oh, I'm afraid I've forgotten your name. Can you remind me? All right? And you're going to say, name, I see you. And that person's going to respond, I am here. Look in the person's eye when you do that. Lindsay's going to help me with this, right? Okay. We're going to stand, but you're not going to stand. Okay. And then you're going to switch. Lindsay, I see you.
I am here. Diane, I see you.
I am here. It's not tough, all right? Think about eye contact. Go, please talk to someone near you. All right. I'm figuring that should be done. We're not chatting. Thank you, class. So, that greeting can be a little uncomfortable, actually, at first, right? It's looking someone in the eye and accepting that can feel vulnerable, intimate, and maybe afterwards we can talk about how that felt for you. But it's really powerful to be acknowledged in such a simple way. I am chasing God's dream for English language learners. I know you by name. This made me think of so many of my students over the years. My entire teaching career, this is year 25, has been focused in one way or another on students who are learning English, who speak a language other than English at home. In the world of education, specifically California, but other states as well, students who are learning English are referred to as ELLs, or English learners, or multilingual learners. And I learned really early on how important a name is. So while I was preparing that, I was remembering that, and I found an article on this topic. It's from May 2016, and it's from Education Week, but it still applies, absolutely. And it's about a national campaign called My Name, My Identity, which was a campaign put together by the National and California Association of Bilingual Educators. And My Name, My Identity places a premium on pronouncing students' names correctly and valuing diversity. In the article, a San Jose High School student named Michelle Twee Knock is quoted as saying, "My name is where I come from. It's a reminder of hope." The article says, a name is more than just a name. It is one of the first things children recognize, one of the first words they learn to say and read. That's my side. The first words they learn to say, and it is how the world identifies them. The article goes on to say, but for many ELLs, a mispronounced name is often the first of many slights that they experience in classrooms. They're already unlikely to see educators who are like them, teachers who speak their language, or a curriculum that reflects their culture. The author of the article tells the story of a kindergarten student in 1950s Brooklyn, Carmen Farina, a native Spanish speaker, who had a teacher who marked her absent every day for weeks because she didn't raise her hand during roll call. The teacher assumed Farina was being defiant. But the future New York City Schools chancellor never heard her name called. The teacher had repeatedly failed to pronounce it correctly. Mispronouncing a student's name essentially renders that student invisible, Farina said during a keynote speaker to NABE. Mispronouncing a student's name renders that student invisible. Invisible. That makes me want to cry. That is absolutely unacceptable. And Carmen Farina, I see you. I am chasing God's dream for English language learners to have the option to attend university. I'm going to show you a quick video, I think, about a young Latina woman who talks about her mother's influence on her journey to become a university graduate. And this is from May 2019.
Where you come from to know where you're going. My name's Jocelyn Sanchez. I am a first-generation college student from Sac State, and I'm graduating with a BA in psychology. My mom's from Guanajuato, Mexico. She just really motivates me to do everything I do in life. Growing up in Salinas, my mom was always working. She's been a field worker since she was pregnant with me. So I would go to like Head Start programs for like migrants. So I was always like in the school setting. So I feel like that made me really like love to learn. So I went back home to take my pictures. So I went back to Salinas, California. I just thought it was really important. My mom always tells me, like, you always need to know where you come from to know where you're going. I didn't think anything of it. Like, I was like, oh, that would be cool, And like me handing you something because it's for you, Like you did all that for us, so now I'm giving it back to you. Can't translate. She just said that she's really proud. She said that she didn't think like I would want to let people know that this is my mom, just because she knows that a lot of people look down at people with these jobs. She did it for us, so that we can have better opportunities, and that's why I really want to dedicate this to her.
Been working on this for weeks. I didn't think I'd get tears again for that one. When I was working at Cesar Chavez Language Academy, I can say virtually all of the young teachers that I was working with have a story like that. Yeah. I am chasing God's dream for English language learners to have the option to attend university by advocating for the academic support that is needed. I'm not at CCLA anymore now. I'm an EL specialist with the district, and I could explain to you at length about the academic needs of our ELs. That's my job. I could spend hours. I already have a number of PDs ready for you to explain, practice, demonstrate the research-based strategies and the best classroom practices for our multilingual learners. But that's not really, the nuts and bolts of that is not really what this part of my dream is about. Advocating for the academic needs of our ELs is ultimately an issue of equity and justice. It is an issue of racism, both blatant and systemic. If the dream is to become a compassion-driven change maker like Jesus, then my focus must be on the people and situations in my time that Jesus would have called by name. So, in the translation of modern memes, Jesus might have said, love your neighbor who doesn't look like you, think like you, love like you, speak like you, pray like you, vote like you. It's a hard one for Christ Church. Love your neighbor, no exceptions. It has been a long journey for me to realize and own the inherent unconscious bias and racism that is a part of our educational system. When I was a student in university, two things happened that started me on that journey. Number one, I lived in Oaxaca, Mexico for 6 months as a part of a study abroad program. In Mexico, I learned how difficult it is to learn a second language in adulthood. I learned how it felt to have a language barrier and be judged because of it. I also learned how far this smile and a por favor o gracias could get me. I also discovered the joy of learning not only a new language, but a culture to go with it. It was exciting to me to find out that I could become friends and have a connection with people who were so different from me. I also found out that Cinco de Mayo was not indeed Mexican Independence Day. That was weird. Anyway, when I returned from that study abroad, I decided to add Spanish to my already declared educational program. The next thing that happened, and this was in the early 90s, the next thing that happened was that I took a class in which we read a book called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, an Indian history of the American West, written by D. Brown. It was written in 1970, and at the time was a pretty, I would say, radical book. There's a lot more now that we could read. I had never, ever questioned my education. Why would anyone not teach me the truth? Why would anyone not teach me the whole story? I thought maybe Cinco de Mayo was some sort of fluke. But the crimes committed against Native peoples by our government over and over again, the systematic destruction of the lives and cultures of Native peoples, no, that wasn't a fluke or an accident. That was Orwellian. It was draconian. This was earth-shattering to me. What else had been left out of my education? As it turned out, a whole lot. As I became a teacher working with students who were poor and learning English as a second language, I advocated for them, talked about the resources they needed, but it was kind of poor little suffering ELs. I had taken on the unfortunate role of white savior, and I'm not proud of that. But as Maya Angelou says, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So fast forward many years, it's 2020. I'm stuck at home at the beginning of the pandemic, crazy scared of a virus that apparently was everywhere, including on my daily mail. I know some of you quarantined your mail like I did. And I was struggling to survive and navigate teaching on Zoom and parenting my daughter through this isolation. And on May 25th, George Floyd was murdered by a police officer, sparking rallies, marches, civil disobedience, and riots. Now, this was certainly not at all the first time that we had seen this type of brutality, right? In fact, the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles occurred 28 years earlier while I was living in Mexico in April of 1992. And at the time, I had no way to explain to my Mexican family what was happening in Los Angeles. I didn't understand it either. But this time that was different. There was a movement, a push to educate us white privileged folks like me, to help school me, to help educate me to the fact that it's more than just about blatant racism. right? I was never a person who would have gone off on a racist rant in Starbucks because someone, mispronounced my name. But that's not really what it was about, right? This was the effect of decades, centuries of systematic racism. That I have all kinds, personally, of deep-rooted unconscious bias and racism that I had to face. And the most eye-opening piece of all, I'm a racist. This is where I had to face my part, my participation, especially in our educational system, all systems as well. But I had worked in, supported, and advocated for a system that has a history of deep, deep racism. This system of which I am a part has oppressed and withheld the proper education of our children of color for years. And guess what? So had I. But what could I do to affect change in this gigantic dinosaur of an institution? I couldn't change the whole system. But this is where I began to identify as a racist in recovery. This is where I can find my small but important path to chasing God's dream, to dismantle some teeny little piece in one tiny corner of one institution. And it turned out I was in the perfect position to chase this dream. I am chasing God's dream for English language learners to have the option to attend university by advocating for the academic support that is needed for our multilingual learners to be reclassified before exiting elementary school, which is the first step on the journey toward entrance into a university. I know, it's a mouthful. Some of that you might not understand, and I'd be happy to explain reclassification to you later and how that works, but don't worry about that right now. Here's what I do know. In 2020, the overall high school graduation rate in California was 84%. For English learners, the rate was 69%. The overall statewide high school dropout rate was 9%. For English learners, the rate was 18%. Here is how I am following the principles of change making in chasing God's dream for our English learners, our multilingual learners. I am listening with compassion and empathy to families about what they want and dream for their children, instead of assuming what I think they want. I am collaborating in a new job and with members of the NBOP Immigrant Defense Task Force to creatively, still working on that, creatively find a way to chase this dream. But it is definitely a dream to empower my fellow educators and families to be educated and equipped to advocate for our multilingual learners. So what's next? Honestly, I'm not sure. But there is more to be revealed. I believe that, I trust that, and I will continue to strive to be a compassion-driven change maker like Jesus and like Moses. I will continue to show up, pay attention, cooperate with God. That's a real hard one for me. And release the outcome. Another hard one for me. Thank you for listening to my story. I would like to end with a prayer by Steve Garnis Holmes, which will then be followed by the Changemaker prayer again. Please pray with me. God, I am worried that things won't turn out as I want them to. So I'm grasping, clinging to little things, little hopes like remnants from a fire, artifacts of an imagined world. Meanwhile, you pour out your presence to me. What is this tiny little world I cling to? Why am I hanging onto these trinkets? What is this fear that I cherish so much? Why am I afraid to stop and behold your infinite abundance laid secretly in my lap? Does what I want lead me to abandon all things and fall into your arms? Is there something I want more than you? What would it take for me to trade what I am afraid of losing for what can't be taken from me. I am standing by a clear, flowing river, nervously holding water in my cupped hands, water that I have carried for a long time. Why don't I drop it, walk in, and float away? Loving Creator God, open us, guide us, encourage us, sustain us as we risk something big for something good. Amen.
God meets us on our wilderness journeys, that we may not journey alone. Christ tends us on our wilderness journeys, that we may receive our daily bread. The Spirit sustains us on our wilderness journeys, that we may be strengthened for what lies ahead. Go with God's blessings.